One of the things about the Bush regime is that if they are not held to account for their war crimes, their crimes against humanity, and their tyranny, then any future president, whether that be Obama or someone subsequent to him, will do everything that the Bush regime has done and go even further. The regime of Bush and Cheney represents a rupture from past norms, legal and de facto. This rupture has been so awful, so extreme, so disastrous, and therefore so unpopular, that in order to keep people within the chilling confines of the existing system, they had to, in an extraordinary move, trot out for the first time a woman who had a legitimate shot at the presidency and a black man who had a legitimate shot at the presidency and has been elected as president. And both major parties had to talk about change and reform, both of them. Think about how extraordinary that is. Obama's election was greeted with unqualified elation by many people in this country and high expectations. At the same time that he has these high expectations attached to him, his promises of change and promises of burying what has been so horrible for the last 8 years, he also has an empire to defend and protect. He likes to call it the United States of America. I call it an empire. The conditions that we are in now and that we face in the immediate future are volatile and full of sharp contradictions. When you look closely at Obama's actions and his words, and you take them as a whole in addition to that, what you see is very consistent, very carefully crafted, and very canny. Our speakers tonight are going to uncover much of this, but before turning it over to them, let me just say make this last point. Obama accepts the Bush doctrine, which, if Sarah Palin is here, I'll explain. Attacking other countries that have not attacked you first. This difference that Obama has with Bush and Cheney over policy does not include differences over the Bush doctrine. And in fact, in August of 2007, when he was campaigning for president, he made a speech in which he called for attacks on Pakistan without consulting with the Pakistani government if we had, quote, actionable intelligence about Taliban or Al-Qaeda, to just go in there and take them out. And when he said this at the time, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, the rest of the candidate pool, including George Bush himself, expressed shock and amazement that, Bush went on TV and he said, Obama wants to attack Pakistan. Isn't that unbelievable? And then we find out, this was back in August of 2007, we find out in July of this year, the New York Times runs a piece revealing that in a secret memo, Bush himself signed an order to do precisely what Obama had been advocating. So here we have someone who has advocated something that was too extreme even for Bush to endorse. So we can see the kind of contradictions at work. If you follow the press reports out of Pakistan, you notice something very striking about how much anger is being stirred up in Pakistan against these attacks by the United States. Even moderate forces in Pakistan who do not like the Taliban and do not like Al-Qaeda are being pushed in their direction because it's even worse to have the United States attacking them and violating national sovereignty. So his differences are not over the attacking other countries and all of the Bush doctrine. His differences are over tactics. And his differences over, for example, the Military Commissions Act, which legalized torture and stripped us of habeas corpus rights, was dumb. Not that it was immoral or unjust or monstrous. So the underlying logic, and I'll end with this, for the war on terror is that torture and preventive detention, which, by the way, Obama, while he's talking about shutting down Guantanamo, is also talking about preserving preventive detention. They're not getting rid of that. The underlying logic of this war on terror is that American lives are more valuable than anybody else's. And that's the fundamental premise and the fundamental lie. And so I'd like to now turn over the talk to Jorge Mujica, who is an immigration activist and who initiated the March 10th, 2006, which came to be known as the March 6th movement of immigrants.